Live, local, trusted, #1 at 6, WKYT News.
Now at 6, communities underwater and the death toll rising after devastating flooding here in Kentucky. We are live tonight with a look at the damage and the massive response.
Even though the rain has stopped, some Frankfort residents are still not able to get into their homes. Hear from one family facing that challenge coming up.
And people line up for bottled water as supply issues grow. We're in Mercer County, where water service could run out. Devastation along the Kentucky River as days of heavy rain lead to major flooding across multiple Kentucky communities. In Frankfort, the Kentucky River has spilled out over into neighborhoods, flooding businesses and homes. A look from above shows the widespread damage from all of that flooding. Good evening. We thank you for joining us for WKYT News at 6. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Amber Philpott, live in Frankfort tonight, where this city, much like other communities, are now watching and waiting for those waters to recede. You know, this is a widespread event here in Frankfort, probably one of the most iconic places, Buffalo Trace Distillery. It is inundated with water. We took a drive over there today, and it's just really incredible to see how much water is at that property. Much like here at Riverview Park, to be able to see the water levels as high as they are here. Even at this hour, people are still continuing to come and look at these levels. We just had a little boy who came up here and said, "Oh my goodness," and he's not wrong. The good news is, though, at about 4:30 today, the river levels here were observed at just barely over 48 feet. That is still high, but that is better than where we started. So that is some good news that the water is slowly starting to go down here in Frankfort. And also here in the capital city, there is a curfew that is in place. It remains in place tonight from 8 to 6 a.m. WKYT's Jessica Umbro is joining me live from here in Frankfort. And Jessica, I know that you actually talked to a woman who was cut off from her own home by the flooding.
Yes, she was cut off from her own home, and she's just grateful that there is no longer any more rain contributing to this. I just wanted to show you this very active scene. There have been a lot of people coming by, taking a look at the Singing Bridge. So this wall has been here to prevent the floodwaters from coming down Bridge Street onto West 2nd Street. And around midday, I watched the city crews put some sandbags down here to try and mitigate the flow of water coming down. Obviously, you can see that it is flowing. Luckily, there are a few drains that are taking all of that water. And it's because of those conditions, it's because of that all being handled, that homeowners are able to go back and try and see what has been damaged. But for some, they're still not able to get back to their homes.
When you look at pictures, it really doesn't do it justice for what it looks like seeing it in person. It's just devastating that so many people's houses are going to be ruined.
Sarah Rome says if you look through the trees past the White House, you can get a glimpse of her home. Her home sits in a bend of the Kentucky River in Frankfort. She says when her family first got the news of the potential flooding, they were in Florida on spring break.
We got back at 10:45 Saturday morning and immediately had my dad here with trucks and just loading stuff up. We moved stuff upstairs.
But she says they're worried it might not have been enough.
We kind of ill prepared because we thought it wasn't going to get as high as it did. So there's a lot of things we probably shouldn't have put on countertops and things like that that are probably damaged now.
Seeing flooding around the rest of the city, Rome says they're grateful for the warning that they did have. And they're waiting for things to clear up enough to get back and seeing what they're working with.
Reality hasn't sunk in. I think we'll just have to, once it kind of recedes, that's when we'll actually start doing damage control and figuring out what our next steps are.
And as people are seeing this floodwater start to go down, as they're seeing the Kentucky River start to go down, Sarah says that there really has been a community of support. She says there's even a Facebook group where people have been sharing updates, sharing photos of their homes and their streets, trying to wrap their arms around one another and get through this difficult time. Live in Frankfort, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
Yeah, and it really takes everyone coming together to really take care of one another during times like these. Sadly, tonight we are learning about several deaths related to this flooding. The death toll in Kentucky now stands at 5. In Pendleton County, a man died in the flooding near Butler. The emergency management director says that the body was found near a truck along the river. It is not clear yet if he was driving at the time. And in McCracken County, Kentucky State Police, they say 27-year-old Lee Chandler was last seen Sunday afternoon. State police say floodwaters swept him away as he attempted to retrieve his boat. His body was recovered this afternoon. Governor Andy Beshear also reporting the death of a 65-year-old man in Trigg County. He talked about the tragic loss of life today.
Remember, these are all children of God missed by their families and their friends. Please join Brittany and I in praying for these families. And before I proceed to any other part of the update, I just want to stress that we do not want to lose another individual. And whether or not we do is going to mainly depend on the decisions that people make here until the event is over.
Well, the governor there urging people to please stay away from floodwaters and to not drive through flooded roadways. That's as it will be several days before the water levels drop in all of these places. And here in Frankfort, the Kentucky River, it crested this morning, as we said, just shy of those record levels it set in 1978. A lot of people stopping by here today to talk to us about those levels in 78. First Alert meteorologist Alexa Minton is tracking those river levels for us, and she has more on when we could start to see these water levels really come down. And it's going to probably be a while, right, Alexa?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Amber. We actually have still multiple flood warnings in effect for aerial counties, but river flood warnings are going to last well past tomorrow. Here where Amber is, Frankfort, Franklin County stretching down towards Woodford, Anderson County lines. That flood warning is going to stay in effect all the way through Thursday morning. And it's not the only area that we're seeing river flood warnings in effect. Water has to flow downstream in the Kentucky River Basin. It's all headed towards the Ohio River that still is waiting for their river crest. But we've seen some pretty historic numbers here in Kentucky. These are the areas that are still in an active flood stage. Now, a lot of those waters are starting to recede, but we saw some record-breaking numbers at Camp Nelson. They crested at 47 feet yesterday morning, making it the highest crest on record. High Bridge Lock saw 47.1, which makes it the third highest crest on record. Ford Lock over on the Fayette-Madison County line, they crested at 35 feet, and I was there yesterday, and you still saw businesses underwater. But of course, all eyes are on our capital city at Frankfort. Like Amber mentioned, that crest came a little earlier this morning, just over 48 feet. It still is the second highest crest on record, but the good news is, Amber, we're slowly starting to watch those river waters go down. They've now just reported here as of the 5:30 hour at around 48 feet. Amber?
All right, Alexa, that is some good news, and we will just all have to be patient as these levels start to come down. Well, the recent flooding has caused water problems of another kind in one Kentucky county. Officials in Mercer County were worried that the entire county could lose running water service by this time tomorrow. WKYT's Phil Pendleton is live for us in Harrodsburg. He actually has some breaking news for us right now. Phil, what can you tell us?
I'm standing beside one of the water pallets left over, and this water will actually not be needed now. Word from the emergency management director, the pumps are working once again, and the community here in Harrodsburg will not be losing water like they had first feared earlier today. And the scene here earlier today were cars lined completely around the Mercer County Fairgrounds, down both streets coming into the fairgrounds as people were getting a case of water per household. But the situation is not nearly as bad as they feared. They say they were able to get all the pumps working again. They were able to have water flowing into all the water tanks. And again, the word from the Mercer County officials here is that they will not have to turn off the water, and water will be flowing as normal. And also, no boil water advisory will have to be instituted. Live in Mercer County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
All right, Phil, we will take the good news where we can. So thank you for that update and that breaking news here at this hour. Now, along the Fayette and Madison County lines, we have been following a mudslide that was triggered by several days of that heavy rain. New pictures from today show that mudslide and flooding there at Clay's Ferry. Luke Laurie sharing those images with us. You can see the high water levels of the Kentucky River also causing flooding at Proud Mary Barbecue. And of course, that was hit just in this last recent round of flooding as well. Now in Louisville, 4 police and fire boats ferried people to safety today from the Candlewood Suites Hotel there. Floodwaters turned the hotel really into an island, cutting off access to that property. 61 people had to be rescued and taken to a different hotel. That includes one couple staying at the hotel. They were there waiting for surgery. They checked in last night after driving from Fort Knox to get ahead of this flooding.
We went in around 6, and then we got up this morning. They said, oh, you can't get out, so I don't know when it rose.
Well, the hotel called Metro Safe this morning requesting help, saying the floodwaters had risen overnight. Metro Emergency Management says that they gave them enough time to coordinate that evacuation, although the floodwaters were actually too high for National Guard vehicles to actually help, and that is why they needed to use those boats to get those folks out, even a front-end loader there today. Here at Riverview Park, when I tell you what we're showing you, the water is so high, but when I talk about the berm that is on both sides of me here, and I talk to you about just how dangerously close that water got to going over it, it didn't, but it is still so incredibly high. You're just talking about what could have been here. Right now, there are still 538 some state roads across Kentucky that are closed. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, the Transportation Secretary today said back in February, at the height of the flooding then, there were just about 350 state roads closed. So you can tell just how widespread this is at this time. And again, the governor and other city and county officials, especially here in Franklin County, reminding people if you don't have to be out, please stay home. Please don't put yourself at risk or the first responders at risk if you were to get into some of these high water situations. I always like to look for the positive, so I'm going to show you right over my shoulder here. There is a redbud tree that is blooming out beautifully here at this hour, Bill, and it's just a little sign of hope that spring is here with us, that the weather will get better, and hopefully for all of these communities that have been devastated, they will get some good weather finally to be able to start the very long cleanup process. But it is a little sign of some beauty in all of this floodwater.
Appreciate
Bill, back to you.
that perspective. That is good. And we have a little sunshine out there as well. Amber, thank you so much. And as we wait for the waters to recede across Kentucky, though, the temperature is really dropping. In fact, it will bring some freezing temperatures into areas already impacted by the flooding. So let's get to First Alert meteorologist Alexa Minton, who's tracking that change for us. Alexa?
Yeah, we definitely saw some much needed sunshine across the Commonwealth today as the rain stopped finally in the overnight after 5 intense days. Those temperatures are pleasant right now, but like Bill just said, we're watching them take a tumble in the overnight. Your First Alert Weather Radar Network is showing you've got a 57 right now in Lexington, 46 in Hazard, 48 in Williamsburg under that blanket of clouds that are slowly starting to push out of the region. What we've got to watch for in the overnight is another cold front that's gearing up to head towards our skies. It's pushing some rain over the Ohio area. It is going to give us a light chance in our rainfall, but as we look at those temperatures here in the next 12 hours, the main effect we're going to notice is a big drop. By the time you're looking towards tomorrow morning, many areas across the state are going to be below freezing for our forecast. So I'll give you another update on how these cold conditions will last throughout the first part of our week here in a few more moments. Bill?
Okay, we'll see you very soon with that. We thank you. It has now been more than 5 years since a Lexington man was shot and killed, and the case remains unsolved. Bluegrass Crime Stoppers is hoping that attention on the case will bring some answers. Police say back on March 29th, 2020, 20-year-old Zion Clark was shot on East 2nd Street. He later died at a hospital. WKYT recently talked to Clark's mother, who says she is still fighting for justice for her son.
You know, you have people that witness a lot, and behind the scenes, they tell you what happened, but yet they won't come forth and say to Lexington's finest what really happened or what they saw. That's the devastating part of it.
Anyone with information is asked to call Lexington Police or Bluegrass Crime Stoppers, and you can leave an anonymous tip. Stay with us. We'll be back here on WKYT News. Welcome back to WKYT News. Parts of Wapping Street in downtown Frankfort are completely underwater. Many of the surrounding businesses and homes are flooded. Kentucky Dance Academy is one of those businesses, and WKYT's Mariah Conjito stopped by today to see the damage. The owner says it is a very challenging time.
Yesterday, when the studio owner came in here, there was about 3 feet of water, but she says just in a matter of a day's time, that water has risen several more feet. Now the question is, where can the roughly 200 dancers go to practice and just get some sense of normalcy?
By the time we realized it was coming in, it was too late.
This is what you see when you open the door to Kentucky Dance Academy.
Our landlord, he called in and said, it's as bad as you could imagine.
Academy Director Amanda Keller says their last practice was Saturday afternoon. At the time, she says there were some flood warnings in effect.
I think we all knew that the river was going to rise, but I think myself and a lot of the other businesses locally, we expected to have another day.
But Keller says their drainage and sewer system failed before they could move anything to higher ground.
But there's another flight of stairs that it's totally covering now. That big wood piece, that's an old church pew that also made it through the flood of 1978. That's our seating in our hallway area for our families.
Keller says all of the dance floors will need to be replaced. They'll need all new furniture, and they may have lost some costumes too.
All of that is replaceable, but the stuff like the photos that the kiddos put up on the wall, those are gone.
Keller says she just wants to be with her dance family again and somehow find the joy in all of this.
Something that we pride ourselves on and that we really work towards is making sure that our kids have stability and that they have a safe place and an inclusive space. And so our next steps, other than the cleanup, is finding alternative spaces that we can keep having classes.
Once the water recedes, the cleanup begins. Keller says she's really blessed to have a dance family who have already offered to help clean up whenever that time comes. If you would like to help out, you can find more information in this story on the WKYT News app. In Frankfort, Mariah Conjito, WKYT.
Now, WKYT First Alert Weather with meteorologist Alexa Minton.
And it will take some time for flood waters to recede, as we're still seeing a lot of areas under flood warnings even through parts of tomorrow. In fact, the Fayette County metro area will be under a flood warning until 12 p.m. tomorrow on your Tuesday. River flood warnings along the Kentucky River as everything flows downstream will last even later in our week ahead. But we did get the chance to see some sunshine today, and that was much needed after 5 days of excessive rainfall. We're at currently 57 degrees here in the Commonwealth, but temperatures are set to drop quite a bit in the overnight for our area. We're going to watch a cold front pass over our skies. It starts to knock us down really a lot during the 10 o'clock hour, but by the time we're looking towards tomorrow morning, areas could be below that freezing point on the current forecast. It's for that reason got a freeze warning in effect for the entire state except for 3 counties, Harlan, Pike, and Letcher. They're under a freeze watch, not a freeze warning, but this means we could see a hard freeze for many as we head throughout the overnight. Like I said, that cold front's reaching us earlier in the evening, 7 o'clock north of I-64. Light chance at some chilly showers as that front pushes in. They turn more pinpoint the deeper the front gets into the state, giving us a nice dose of clouds in the overnight. Jumping towards Tuesday morning, 5 a.m., 27 in Lexington, 34 in Hazard, 32 in both Somerset and London. It stays cold as we jump towards the 8 a.m. hour. Everywhere is forecasted right now to be below freezing during your morning commute tomorrow. So go ahead, grab the ice scraper, put it in the back of the car. You'll definitely see frost. Try to bring some plants in if you can, and definitely cover any blooms outside with sheets as we continue to watch these cold conditions. We're going to make a best run up towards some warmth at the 1 o'clock hour, but we're staying in the 40s tomorrow. You can see extended forecast, our temperatures improve, but we've got rain on the forecast by the time we're talking towards Wednesday. It's late Wednesday night into parts of Thursday, and Friday we'll see some showers. At least this upcoming weekend, Bill, is going to look good, typical for our area.
All right.
A little bit of sunshine I think we need next weekend, don't we?
We'll hold out for that, right?
Exactly.
Finally some spring. All right, everybody, stay with us. We're coming right back. Brian Milo will join us next with sports.
It is Florida and Houston going at it from San Antonio tonight for the national championship. And you'll see it right here on WKYT around 8:50. Both teams are similar other than identical records of 35-4, but the coaches are miles apart. Florida's Todd Golden, just 39 years old, and would be the 8th coach in his 30s to be crowned champion with a win. Houston's Kelvin Sampson is 70 and looks to become the oldest coach to ever win a title.
I'm not very good at, my mother always used to tell me that I had to learn to smell the roses, and my mother passed away in 2014, and I never did learn.
Houston is an amazing team, and they deserve this opportunity. Obviously, they're going to have some great momentum, and they should have a lot of people here tomorrow night. And for us, it allows us to add another, chip on our shoulder and, try to prove, that we belong.
Well, the Keeneland Spring Meet underway after being pushed back a couple of days due to the weather. A pair of graded stakes races this afternoon, including the featured race, the Grade 1 Ashland Stakes. This is the final prep race of the Super 6 for the Kentucky Oaks. 8 3-year-old fillies going 1 1/16 on the dirt, fast conditions. Running away, the Kentucky bred for trader Wesley Ward is the morning line favorite at 3-to-1 odds coming out of the 5-hole. A $750,000 purse, 100 qualifier points on the line. Here's Kurt Becker to boot him home.
It's Lacara to catch in the Central Bank Ashland. She's got a 3.5, 4-length lead back to Muhima. Take charge, Milady, third down to the inside. And Super Speed, fourth on the outside. It is Lacara. Take charge, Milady is running up the rail late, but the wire is coming. Lacara, take charge, Milady, Lacara.
And Lacara paying 2016, 716, and 344. That is sports. We'll be right back.
We are going to see some chilly temperatures in the overnight as a cold front passes over us. We start off tomorrow morning with a freeze warning in effect. Now, you've got a cool evening tomorrow, only peaking in the 40s, but by the time we look towards Wednesday, Thursday, some rain chances. It's the perfect night to stay inside, obviously, and watch some basketball because it's going to be too cold to be anywhere else,
well,
right?
There's a big one to watch tonight, certainly the championship game.
Yeah, I want Houston to win because of my affinity for Olajuwon, Drexler, Mishaw, Reed Geddes, Guy Lewis, all those guys who never did it 40 years ago.
Well, I understand.
Showing my age.
And then there's the SEC element on the Florida side, so we'll see. A lot of interest in the game tonight.
If Florida wins, you can say, hey, we beat the national champ.
There you go. It makes a second place.
That's right.
The tip-off's at 8:50. The program will start before that. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the CW Lexington next with more local news and tonight. Have a good one.